Hey guys, welcome to Hashtag Survival Podcast number 6. I had to count on my fingers. Dee and I are here today to talk at you about multiplayer and COOP, and server-based play and playing games with other people versus playing by yourself. I almost said playing with yourself. Playing by yourself. This is a PG-13 podcast. Thank you very much. Let us dive in with possibly one of the most hot button fucking topics about, well, I don't know. I guess I don't know about other genres because I'm sure that there's no argument in like, I don't know, first-person shooters that are like squad-based games. Like, you know, it's going to be multiplayer because you don't really have to argue and make Overwatch more multiplayer. That's kind of the point of a lot of these things. Apex would be very weird single player.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's I think the conversation is more prominent in certain genres than others, but I think it does happen everywhere. Like I've seen it happen in a lot of different genres. Obviously, if a game is made with the intention of being multiplayer like Overwatch or Valorant or Counter-Strike, yeah, you're not really going to get many people arguing that they want more single player content. Although I'm sure it does happen. But yeah, it is, I guess, to circle back around, it is a very prominent conversation in the survival genre.
Give me single player World of Warcraft content now. I am both hero and also only person in the world. Go. Multiplayer, and I'm going to call it COOP because that is so much easier for my mouth than saying co-op. Anyway, paid server requires money. You can pay to host the game. You can pay somebody like Ping Perfect or other crap hosts, and they will put up a game server for you, and then anybody can access it depending on if you give them a password, if they pay you many, many American dollars, whatever form of bribery you do. You can do the local hosting. This is kind of like in Stranded Deep, Green Hell, Subsistence. One person is basically hosting the game, and the other people would be added in. You can invite them into your game. Usually there's a cap. Usually it's very small. Stranded Deep is 2 people, I believe. Green Hell is like 4, so on and so forth. But the downfall is that if person A is hosting, like, you have to make sure that the host meets certain criteria. Like, they have to be around. It's really no help if they can only play once a month, and then everybody else could just, sit on and spin. And they should have like a decent rig with good internet. And yeah. Then there's Icarus. We noticed with Icarus, which is pretty new, and I don't know of any games that I've experienced that do this, but with Icarus, the local like co-op save is actually cloud saved, like on their end. So, and we haven't tried this, but even though I'm the one who continuously launches the game and launches the mission, Dee apparently can just go and launch it herself, and then I could just join on her, which I mean is an amazing thing, but like lately they have been having so many problems.
It's a really, really cool concept, and I was wondering about it. Not the last time we played, but I think the time before that. Irrelevant. But I was wondering if either one of us could host it, or if like I could host it, or if it would mess it up, and we were worried about trying it because we didn't want to completely mess something up. But now that we know that it kind of like it saves separately to us and it's on a cloud somewhere, and either one of us can just start it up and play, and then it'll get saved in the cloud again, and then like that's really cool. I really like that idea. It's a lot it's a lot cooler and a lot more, well, it would be a lot more reliable than having to rely on one person being around and such. But as we're about to get into, it hasn't been very reliable because there's been a lot of issues with the whatever way that they are hosting, whatever way they're connecting to the cloud, that whatever they're using for the cloud. It's not been going great.
No, I feel like the past few times we've played, like in the beginning, we were getting the connected. You're like, oh, you've lost connection. Blah, blah, blah. We'll try again. And maybe after a few minutes, it would reconnect, and we didn't really notice anything. But we actually had to basically log out last night, and we're not sure how much progress we lost or how far back we are now because it went down. And after 30 minutes of waiting, we were just like, I can't possibly spend my life waiting for this to come back up. Because really, at that point, the only thing they were saying was like, we're aware, we're aware. So, you know, yep.
Yeah, and there was no reliable way for us to know how long we would have to wait. We didn't want to have to leave the game running. There wasn't really any indication that even if they did fix the servers, that it would, retroactively reconnect us or anything. So it was just a lot of unknowns, and we ended up just kind of having to bite the bullet and leave, and we'll just have to see the next time we play how much progress we lost.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the thing, like, that's one of the kind of downfalls of like these survival games. Like, it is a lot harder to, except for the ones where some of them do have, like, you're in this menu and it pauses, or you do this and you can pause it and stuff. But, they are usually like, Icarus is hella intense on your computer. And I don't really need it, like, sitting in the background, tying everything up for however long that would have taken. Which is a shame because, like Dee was saying, it is really handy. But if the trade off was like, this is going to be a problem, 25% of the time or whatever, I could go back to not having it be.
Yeah, yeah, I'd rather take the downfalls and just have a reliable source of knowing that okay, I'm going to be able to access the save when I need it and I'm not going to lose progress. Like, I love the idea, and I really hope that they get the server issues figured out because I think it's fucking great, but it's got to be reliable.
Yeah, hopefully it's. I don't know. I'll have to go and check later, maybe when we're done, and see if they ever put a finger to what the issue was. I mean, it happened at. I feel like it happens mostly late at night or like on peak nights, and if that's a peak time kind of problem, then that's really on their end. Like, if you want your game to be popular, you have to be able to support it when it's popular. Sorry, but that's what I got to say about that. So, multiplayer, co-op, coping. How important is it for really these survival games? Because for me, I want to just go on the record right now and say, just no argument, just 100%. If your game is going to be, let's see, remotely scary, if I have to look at creepy things or hear them, if they're going to touch me or jump at me or look at me or just anything, it has to be multiplayer. If I cannot throw my sister at it with a gun, then I can't play the game. Because if not, I'll just be in the middle of the lake still and forest, hiding on the rock and crying.
That would have been the entire forest experience.
We're back now with episode 7 of The Forest. Still on the rock.
I wonder what happened to my son. I'm sure he's fine.
I see. He's fine. I can only do as much gameplay as I can do for the daytime, and then I have to come back to this rock. But really, in retrospect, right, it wouldn't have helped me because by day like 50s, sausages would have just flown out to me anyway.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
And then I would have literally killed myself. Like, and the game's really bad now. So weird. Oh, we're having connection issues and the game uninstalled.
Oh no, weird.
and deleted itself. It's so strange.
Oh, I guess that's the end of the series.
Yep. No more Forest. It's uninstalled itself from my hard drive, and I can't seem to purchase it on Steam. No, I can't see our screenshot. Why are you asking me these probing questions? I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah. I don't need it most of the time, and honestly, in a lot of games, I'd rather just play by myself. But like, there's two gaming segments where I need it. Like, I need it if it's scary, and I need it if it's kind of like if it doesn't keep my interest. Like, I could never have done Raft without you there to bullshit with. It was too boring for me. I could never have done Valheim without having like Sam and Becca and people to bullshit with. Too boring for me. I can't do most MMOs without having somebody to bullshit with and voice and kind of jump around and stuff because I just kind of zone out. Like, my brain in an MMO shuts down and I'm just like, yep, that's nice, Bill, whatever, butcher, you need me to go where and kill how many pigs? Okay, cool, be right back. Like, I don't really read anything. I have been playing some of these MMOs for like decades. I have no idea the story, who anybody in it. Like, I just shut down my head and I need to have other people to talk with. And usually, in order to get people around to talk with and stuff, they are usually in the game. So for me, like, I need it for specific things. But when someone's like, hey, I'm coming up with a survival game and a single player, I'm also like, that's okay. Weirdly enough, it's your game. And you can make this choice about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
You?
So yeah, for me it really depends on the game. I tend to lean towards, in general with games, lean towards enjoying multiplayer more. For a long time I couldn't even really stick with any single player games, let alone come close to finishing them. And multiplayer was kind of those were the only games I could really keep up with and keep playing and sort of enjoy thoroughly. I'm a little better about it these days. Yeah, every once in a while I get in a mood where I just wanna play by myself and zone out and just have to worry about myself and what I'm doing. But for the most part, I like multiplayer. I like having someone to play with. For me, it's about the social sort of experience and everything is important. But I also recognize that not every game has that as their intention, and you know, I think that I'm sure we'll go more into specifics later, but some games are built around the idea of playing with other people, like Daisy, like Scum. I mean, they're very big on the interaction and the PvP, whereas other games, it's more about you and your personal experience, like Long Dark and such. So yeah, like for me, it's yeah, I agree with you that horror games are a lot easier to play when you have someone with you to share in the spookiness. But for me, it really comes down to the game itself, what its intention was, what its atmosphere is meant to be, and also just how I'm feeling in the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, there are some games that really like I could not imagine putting multiplayer in the Long Dark. Like, that game is so amazingly built for a single player experience. If I was dropped off that plane and there was another person there, I would probably just fucking strangle them, kill them, and then just go along with my single player experience because it's just so much better. I'd be like, oh God, look at this immersive silence. And someone would be talking like, shut up, bang. Okay, anyway, the immersive silence. It's so great.
Well, that's sort of what I meant by it's the atmosphere, like what the game intends and what atmosphere the game is going for. Because I think obviously you would know better than me because I've only played like what was it, half an hour of the game, and you've played many hours. But it was my understanding that the idea of the Long Dark was you were supposed to sort of feel that isolation and that sense of you are alone here in this unforgiving wilderness and you have to survive. And the isolation and being alone was a major part of it. So to add multiplayer would take that aspect away and would change the whole feeling of the game. Um, Obviously, you can confirm if you agree or if you think that that's true, but that was sort of the feeling that I got from it.
Yeah. I mean, plus it would just give me a big sad too. So I mean, this is also, but
Right, of course, yeah.
that was also like their point to it, which I mean, I think that it's good. And for the games where they're really going down, like you said, for PvP, that's fine. Like obviously the point of PvP is to shoot the other people. And if they're not there, you can't shoot them. Da, da, da. So it's fine. Like there are ones where it's more about working together. In Green Hell, the multiplayer was about working together, being being the many versions of different color shirted Jakes.
Yes.
4 Jake strong, yay! But
Same with the forest, actually. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we're supposed to work together.
same for our ugly. Can't even say ugly enough avatars and Survive the Nights.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
they're fucking terrible. But it, I'm always very back and forth on which games need it and which don't, because there's honestly like for some games you need it. Like for RPGs, like they're very built around, a lot of them are built around story, and that's great, and you can experience alone. But then there are a lot that are built around like, oh, this journey, this adventure, and you want to have people with you. You want to have a sidekick for a journey or adventure.
Sure, yeah.
But even beyond just the, do I need people to shoot at? Do I need people to talk to or whatever for these survival games? People have to also understand, because number one, the thing you see all the time, either you're browsing the forums or whatever, or the Discord, or like me, you're working within these Discord for these games, you're running these Steam boards and stuff, is people really get into this like just turn on multiplayer. Just like turn on multiplayer.
Turn on the multiplayer toggle.
Yeah, just hit the toggle for multiplayer. Like, bitch, that ain't how it works. I'm gonna need you to sit the fuck down. And I don't have it off like right in front of me. I have to dig it up maybe one of the times you're talking, but the leader for Hinterland, the guy who created the Long Dark, he actually had this really good thread where he went over I guess, and I hadn't really read into the story or whatever what prompted it, but I guess somebody or people had been saying about adding or wanting multiplayer for, I think it was Breath of the Wild. And
Okay.
somebody had said something like, oh, I'll give you $1 million or something like that. And he was like, he went into the whole thing where he was like, it's just not something you can switch on. And not only, especially for something like Breath of the Wild, like it'd have to be something that Nintendo was okay with. It would have to be all this shit. But he was like, let me tell you, doing all this crap for this game is like very expensive. It's not just, just like turn it on. Just, it's totally fine. Just do this one thing. There is a lot that goes into this entire thing. And I think he ended up saying like, I can't remember the exact number he gave. It was something really fucking high. Like a couple million or 10 million or something. He's like, that's how much I think I would need to properly implement it into this game. And people were just like, but wait, like this is so much money. And he's like, yes, but that's like that's how much it takes to produce things.
Yeah,
like
that's
what you need to do.
You gotta have the time. You have to have the developers. You have to pay the developers. It's a lot goes into game development, and a lot of times people don't realize that, or they try to simplify things that you really cannot simplify that way.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about, I'm going to look for the thread as we talk, but I will totally go back to this when I find it. So, one of the things that's really interesting about it is that since we're talking about the survival games, obviously, doing this thing where you bring in other people or you don't, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to experience with another person. Like, can you just let me play with my friend? So that way we could just be in that moment together. Like, there's a lot of shit that goes into it. You're talking about copious amounts of just balancing, you know, not just the balancing of the AI or the weapons or just how long it's going to take you to build shit. I mean, how often do we see people, for us playing WoW for decades, it's like you wait a year, 2 years for the X pack, and then it drops, and then these people take off. They kick off Tuesday to the next following Tuesday, and then they're end capped. They've done the dungeons, they finished the quests, and they're like, "Well, what's there to do now?" Brr, 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 brr.
No end game. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for survival games specifically, you have to take into account the balancing and things like the resource management and is the AI going to be too difficult or too easy rather to overcome with two people, and is it going to make it trivial? And I think we see this in all kinds of games, obviously, like you said, but I think for survival games, it really can make or break the experience.
Yeah, and I think that is a really important point for people to remember is that it alters everything. There are some games where it really does work, and when they're something where you can provide balance, maybe things scale, maybe the enemies get harder, maybe things are already so scarce that adding other people doesn't rock the boat. Like adding more people in Scum or adding more people in a modded DayZ server where the loot is already turned down into the ground, it doesn't really it's not really tilting anything for you and I in Scum to have us both there.
Yeah.
Maybe someone to punch off an extra zombie if we happen to get overwhelmed for some weird reason, but like if anything, it's another mouth to feed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, in Green Hell, to me, like especially if anybody plays the normal mode still, like you're already drowning in food. Like adding another person just makes it so much fucking easier. Like
Yeah.
there's so much food in that game. So like, okay, now you build your house 10 times quicker and now you have 18 acres of banana plants and shit, but it 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 moves your progress forward really fast. And I think that it is something important to understand that when you bring these other people in and stuff, they have to do something to balance it out, because you're going to be hitting these content breakpoints or these building breakpoints or whatever the case may be really quickly. Even the ones where it's not as bad, in subsistence, oftentimes I'll be the one going out and foraging and stuff, and Becca might be doing like fishing and taking care of the plants and et cetera, et cetera. But there's still enough variation in things. The hunters could come, or, we're trying to get ready to beat winter. I can make the seasons longer or shorter. So I can do some tweaking to, even though she's there, even when we played the four of us, you can still do some tweaking to give yourself that like struggle, as opposed to us just all being like, well, now we have 15,000 boxes of tomatoes and shit, la la la.
Right. And I think this ties back, to the initial point of it really depends on what sort of feel the game is going for. If it's built with the idea in mind of working together, of having someone beside you to help you and to gather, and maybe you split tasks, like you said in subsistence. If it's built with that in mind, then yeah, it can work and it can be balanced. But if a game does not have that intention, and it ends up being okay, well, you want this sort of feel of scraping by, of scarcity, of having to struggle for your next meal and such, then you are doing the game a disservice by then negating that, by making it so much easier. If you have a friend or two along, suddenly it's a lot easier to take down that moose, and then you have meat for days. And it ends up going against the feeling that the game wanted for itself and for the player. So it's it can't always be a matter of just, oh, you just just add multiplayer, like even if you didn't intend it initially. It's not always about that. Like sometimes the game's just not built for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of things where like the survival elements are already downplayed. So already the animals are scarce, already the food is scarce, so you really have to look hard to find the I don't know, the growing fruits and produce or whatever. But it's really great when the other whatever the aggressive AI or whatever that is, it's supposed to be harder. I like when you add more people and it scales up. Like
Yeah,
when you add more
yeah,
people to 7 days, then you get more zombies per body that are there.
yeah.
And
Or the enemies will get more health or become stronger.
yeah, which I mean is something Warcraft was doing too, if I remember correctly. It's been many an age since I played that game,
Yeah.
but anything like that is helpful and can make it at least something. Like it's just, I just feel like again, it can trivialize what you're doing by having a bunch of people in there, and then it ends up being something where now you're having to balance it, especially if you're doing something where you are making it a huge like uh, spectrum of amount of people you can put it there. You know, it's one thing where it's two people, stranded deep, two people, that makes it relatively easy to kind of balance. But when it could be one, two, three, four, all the way up to eight people now, like that's a huge fucking range to
Yeah.
try and kind of balance out. And I just feel like it's one of those things where people have to get that, like maybe not even that the dev doesn't want to do it because they're going for a certain feeling or atmosphere, like in the Long Dark. Maybe they just don't want to fucking do it because they don't want to do all that work. maybe
Right. Or they
maybe they don't have
can't.
time.
Like they don't have the resources, they don't have the time, you know?
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to realize that sometimes the devs just want to make it a single player game. And I think that there's a difference between being like, oh man, I do wish I could play it with so and so versus just being a dick about it
Right. Yeah.
and threatening and starting on and on and on about just stupid shit. It also, I don't feel like that approach does make people want to help you anyway. Like, just kind of a little bit of an FYI there. I don't think that is a good way to get someone onto your team in terms of making it into a fucking multiplayer game.
Right. Well, I mean, sort of in general, right? Like that's no way to get what you want out of anything is by being cruel or mean or insulting to the creator of the thing. Like that's not the way to be, you know? Like it's you're you're much more likely to get what you want by being kind and empathetic and working with the person rather than just being demanding or threatening or acting like you know so much better than them.
Yeah. And to briefly pause that, so I did find the tweet, and it was taking me forever because apparently he had tweeted it back in 2021, which
Oh,
is why
okay.
this took me so long. And I scaled up the numbers apparently because I'm really bad at math. Summer school can attest to that. But I'm just going to read his thread because it's actually just really, really great.
All right.
So the I'll pay 10K for someone to add multiplayer to Breath of the Wild thing is not so much funny as scary. It shows how little the average person knows about the cost and effort that goes into game development, which drives a lot of player discourse and pushback against devs. We have industry associations who should be doing more work to educate the populace on what we do, and media could also be more helpful with this. I think devs are generally quite open about how we work in the effort involved. It also shows a complete lack of understanding of how the IP works. Even if you were willing to spend $100 million to add multiplayer to Breath of the Wild, you wouldn't be able to do so because only Nintendo has the right to do that, or to permit someone to do it via license of some kind. And we're fortunate to have an amazing player community around the Long Dark, but even we see it at times. How hard could it be to add X to the game? It's often couched in anger. Lazy devs, why don't they just make it an option? One of the absolute wildest fallacies that exist within player communities around a game is that you can easily add multiplayer to a game after the fact. This idea has persisted for decades. It has been debunked and discussed countless times in countless discussions, and yet, do devs a favor and don't signal boost this sort of thinking. It's disrespectful and can be very harmful. Allow for the fact that you don't actually know how to do something. Maybe it's harder, even a lot harder than you think. Then he goes about, if you have a platform, you should know what the fuck you're talking about. So he said, let's see if we can frame the discussion in a more positive way by finding things in games that can be done for roughly 10 grand, or explaining what a typical feature might cost from an implementation standpoint. So now this is based from the developer of The Long Dark. This is the thread I've been reading. And so this is based on The Long Dark. And he goes, oh God. Okay. So he goes, 10 grand will get you between 5 to 7.5 minutes of original music from a good composer. 10 grand will cover the cost of translating about 50,000 to 75,000 words of text into one language, depending on the language. 10K might cover the cost of trademarking your game name in 1 to 2 territories, depending on how many classes you try to protect yourself in. 10K might cover the cost of a small number of relatively polished, better than sketches, but nothing near final pieces of concept art. Flipping it the other way around, creating a single region in the Long Dark costs us about 300 grand, considering design time, art testing, etc. And this is only if the artists are using mostly existing assets. The cost goes way up if you're adding new custom structures, etc. Each of our episodes, these are the story episodes that the Long Dark comes in, because you can play it in an episodic story, where you can play it in a sandbox. Each of our episodes cost multiple millions of money to develop, and we are a relatively low-cost game in comparison to something AAA like Breath of the Wild. And then he goes on to say, without having given it too much thought, if someone came to me and said, we want you to add multiplayer to Breath of the Wild, and we had Nintendo's blessing and support to do so, it would probably cost 15 million to do it right, if it was even possible given how the tech works and how the game was made. And that was assuming that Nintendo provided access to the engine, the assets, the engineering support, the translators, etc. And even then, I would not be able to do it because we have no expertise in multiplayer games and we'd fail.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that says a lot. It's very very succinct. A lot of those are points we touched on, we were talking about previously, and that's directly from the mouth of a dev. So it's, yeah, I am sorry for his struggles for having to deal with this mindset that you can just add things like multiplayer or a new area, and that it's just so easily done, and that if you don't do it, it's because you're lazy or you don't care. It's just it's such an unfair way to approach it.
Yeah, I think what's funny is in like one of the comments to his thread was basically someone being like, oh my God, this is such an over exaggeration. This is such a blow up the money. You underestimate modders and how much people can do, and da da da. And it's again like, okay, I'm sure you have many, many, many experience, but also can we also acknowledge that he probably also has many experience?
Yeah, and those are like, you can't. I feel like it's an unfair comparison to compare the modding community um, to the development of a game from the ground up, because I've seen so many cool mods, so many like total conversion mods and such over the years, and I have a huge respect for modders, for modding community. I love when games actually allow there to be a modding community and make it easy to add mods to your games and such. Like I love that shit. I'm all for it. But it feels like for modding, you're taking something that exists and you're building upon it and you're improving it. It's and it's not a fair comparison to say like, oh, well, I'm a modder and I don't spend nearly that, the amount of resources on that you're claiming or whatever. And it's like, okay, but he's talking about building a game from the ground up completely. And you're talking about modding, which is building upon and improving on something else. And that doesn't feel fair. That's you can't I feel like you can't compare them equally.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I personally do not really do anything with mods. I don't follow anything. I don't subscribe to mods. I don't watch modders. I don't anything. The only game aside from, I mean, I used mods in World of Warcraft, but to me, they were just tools to change things. I didn't really ever get into them in depth. It was more just like, like the bar placement is very annoying. It'd be great if I could change that. Oh, I can't do it, but this person has a mod that will let me do it. I never got anything that was very complex. I didn't get any Cinnamons mods. I didn't get into anything where it was one of these like, I'll tell you each key to press in your rotation. Like, never did any of that shit. It was always just enhancing shit. Same thing with ESO. It would be something like, I will make the bar bigger on account of your eyesight is bad and you can never see like which mob you have taunted. Like just small shit like that. And then in DayZ, and again, it was to enhance what was there, but these aren't things like, I know people can go down into the abyss with modding, and sometimes it's just enhancing maybe a poor UI or something that's kind of like, it's a little thing, it's a menu thing, it's a quality of life. And sometimes it's enhancing a lack of content. DayZ, you've been out forever and you're missing content. But, sometimes it's for shitty reasons. Sometimes it's removing restrictions and then complaining that now you don't have content or now something else breaks. We used to get that so much in Green Hell when people started modding it. And then it was breaking things and corrupting saves and stuff as they were working things out. And we constantly had to be like, send a screenshot, send us a video of this thing. And then we're seeing, they've spawned things in from like the things that aren't in the game, or they've changed the way that building works, or they've done these things to alter crap and it broke stuff. There was a thing for when the Valheim started going onto the paid servers. I saw a bunch of game hosts being like, we don't support modding on it, because I think people were modding around the limit of how many people you could put, like how many slots you could put on the server, and just
Uh,
modding to allow more people.
right.
And it's just like, like you were saying, it's one thing to mod something, but if I made an amazing mod that everybody loved for World of Warcraft, Warcraft still made the fucking game and everything in there. Like,
Right. They made the
I'm standing on
base.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, they made the base that you were able to build your mod upon. And I guess we're getting a little off topic talking about mods and such, but hey, maybe that's a good future topic. Maybe we can add that to our list, talking about mods and add-ons and such, and their place in survival games and all that. There we go. New topic idea. Cool, cool. But to kind of try and bring it back to the initial topic, how many how many mods have you seen for people adding multiplayer to a game? Like, I've seen a few. I remember a long time ago, years and years ago, someone was making a multiplayer mod to add multiplayer to Skyrim, and they had like a very early build, but it was very early build and it had a lot of problems and it was very jank and you couldn't really do much. And at that point, it was kind of more of like a here's a proof that it's sort of maybe like I can make it so that you can be in someone else's game, but you can't do anything really. And I don't know if that mod ever was completed. I don't know if anything like it ever came out, but I I don't remember ever seeing it. And I feel like if a successful mod that managed to successfully add multiplayer to a game like Skyrim had come out and been successful, that it would have been everywhere. I imagine I would have heard of it. Um, so if adding multiplayer is so easy, why have more modders not done it? You know? Um, and it's I think that comes back around to like it's not so simple as just flip the switch. You have to take so many things into account. You have to take the engine into account. You have to take the mechanics into account. You have to take the game balance into account. And it's a lot, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, even beyond those things, there's the way it impacts stuff like the balance or your gameplay or things like that, mechanics. There's also the shit of which you and I know nothing about, which is the back end coding and the development. Where are these people going to be playing? How are you going to set it up that they go in? I mean, how many problems were we having in Green Hell early when they added multiplayer where things weren't syncing? We put
Yeah.
things in the box and they were disappearing and people couldn't access things, and someone would drop an item and it would disappear, or you would be getting your ass kicked by a mob that I couldn't see, or
Yeah,
vice
you couldn't
versa.
even see the enemies that were beating the shit out of me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even games now that we play that do have multiplayer, like, there are still syncing issues.
Yeah.
Often. But beyond the coding and development thing, people also have to remember that for the bulk of these games that are coming out in survival, you are legs and arms. Like, they are not building it with multiplayer in mind. They are not building your body and the rigging and the animations and how you're going to look to other people and what you're going to look like and so on and so forth. Like, for a lot of games, you have to do this or have an idea of what you're going to set up for it early on. It's not just like the game came out 5 years ago and it's doing great and it made a lot of money, and now it's just like, well, time to turn on multiplayer. Like, here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of a game that is, built with it in mind. Um, I love the idea of exploring this idea of survival and working with or against people and sort of figuring out, okay, what is human nature? Is it to band together in this survival situation, or is it to shoot each other and steal each other's resources and gear? And I like that whole concept and that idea, and I think that games like Scum and DayZ, like I said, are sort of built around that idea of these interactions that you're going to have and how they're going to play out, and if you're going to work together or if you're going to kill each other, and how that's going to work. And I like that, and I'm all for that, and I think that some survival games are built with that in mind. And that's great. That's fine. But not all of them are. And it again comes back to, all right, well, what is the intention of the game? What was this game made to convey? Or what was it, what is the experience that it wants you to have? And if it's not multiplayer from the start, then you can't just add it, without any sort of significant changing or planning.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the reason that I do not normally, like, I think the farthest I'll go is I'm a huge fan of single player survival games. And I am also a fan of co-op survival games in either the Icarus, cloud save, or I will host it and you can come into my game, or I can have a private server. And I think the problem with survival game is that so much of it is based or attempted, they attempt to base it on this reality. You've had a plane crash. You know, you fell off the boat, your cruise ship, and you're on an island. Whatever the case may be, you know, they released the virus, they released the plague, there was a mosquito, the fucking asteroid hit the earth, whatever the case may be. And while it does lend itself on paper to this whole like, oh my God, how would it be? Like, what would we do? Who would we survive? Would we rob people? Whatever. I don't, for me, and this could be because I'm New York cynical, but I don't ever see it working because you need so much outside interference. If you look at actual realities of when things like this happened, of societies after war, after an event, things like that, there's so much that goes into it. It's still, at the end of the day, in a survival game, it is a game. And I can go and be a dick, and I can go and camp because I don't work, and I can sit in the server for 12 hours, and I can go and raid all your bases when you're offline doing things. You had to log off suddenly because your kid's crying, and I can just consistently shoot you. And if you kill me, I'll just come back 2 seconds later. There's never a penalty to being bad unless you have a server where you are making these rules for outside interference. How many DayZ servers did we jump into? And it's just like, res, kill on site, res, killed on site, res, hacked, killed through a wall, killed through a bunker from 8 miles away. You know, when we finally found one where they had such stringent rules in place that we were able to get that experience, where we were able to be like, oh shit, there's a person. You know, I'll stand here and cover you. Okay, lock the door quick. You know, I'll try to talk to them. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, you got to feel that like actual kind of role play aspect. Because if not, then it's Day of Defeat again. Like spawn camping. Like shooting the spawn, they come back, they shoot you again. Like
yeah.
It gets tiresome. So,
and I think that like the survival genre has, it's obviously you're never going to get an experience like that in, you know, like a Quake game, like, you know, because that's not the intention. Like the intention is when you are playing Quake multiplayer and you see a bad guy, you want to kill them. Like there's no like other this my brain just like shut down. But it's a completely different thing, right? But whereas with a survival game, it allows for the environment and the background for something like that to happen. And it's a shame that there has to be these outside sort of rules and stuff in place, but that's what happens, I guess. Like you said, it's a video game, and so it's gonna be treated like a video game.
yeah, but imagine if it was something like you went into the server and you only get one life. So like, sure, you're scrounging along, you see someone walking along a path, and you think you can take them. But like, imagine if you got killed, that's it. Like, you're done on this server. Yeah, you're done. I mean, then you'd really wait. You wouldn't just constantly be just running in and being a dick and trying to hit people with a shovel, like in DayZ, or, you know, tying them up and trying to do whatever. Like, you would really, it wouldn't just be this, whatever, I'll just do it. It would be more like, oh, well, you know, if I consistently are robbing people here and everyone only has one life and they know, then, you know, it might be that these little enclaves form around here. And then one day they're like, you know what? Fuck this dude with the blue shirt who's always robbing people. And now they band together and they come and kill me. Like, it would allow you to have actual, like, repercussions for your fucking behavior. And it would make it so nice. I would so much more do that.
It's an interesting idea for sure. It'd be an interesting way to experience a game like that.
Well, you know me, I'm very big into, since we have such a basis in roleplay, like, this is why I want to make the Scum server or the DayZ, or DayZ server for hashtag something with those kind of rules. I would love to see these organic little meetups happen in game. And I'm not saying you need to go like into the abyss of role. My name is Albert Dean and I've been a veteran of the wars for 30. Like, I don't need your backstory. Like, I just thought it would be cool if people were themselves, but also themselves within the context of, I'm in this shitty scenario and now I came across somebody and I'm going to see what I can do, or maybe I can trade with them. Maybe they want to travel a bit, and maybe at night they stole my shit and they ran off, or they tied me up and, went through my pockets and ran off. Like, I think it would be so interesting because so often just by going in and doing all your stuff offline, by just being like, yeah, well, cool. Why don't the 5 of us just jump into 7 days? Oh, we're all max level and we have, gyrocopters in our pockets and flamethrowers and chainsaws and shit. Oh, I guess the storm was done in 3 minutes. Well, guess we'll go and loot more houses now.
And I mean, that could be fun too, but it's it's like two entirely different scenarios and two entirely different approaches to multiplayer. But yeah, it's survival just it offers such a cool backdrop for things like that, and I feel like that's something that is fairly unique to the genre, because like I said, like you won't ever have the same experience in a multiplayer shooter or even really an MMO, I don't think, because there's no backdrop of trying to scrape by and survive in this ruined world or whatever it is.
Well, you're also
That's
not
a
an
thing.
individual. Like, think of 2X packs back in WoW. Like, hello, oh, you are the holy paladin savior of the world. I too am the holy paladin savior of the world.
Right, yeah.
Small world. Like,
yeah.
I just think I think it's an interesting concept. And I think for those who haven't experienced it, 7 days, or 7 days, God, Daisy. Why are there so many like Z's and days in the word? Anyway.
Lots of days and yeah.
And Z's. Daisy we came across a roleplay server, and it was based around a concept of organic RP. So while they weren't saying go around and kill on site and whatever, it was more like if you were going to kill on site, there needed to be some kind of background, some kind of reason. Not just that you're a bored 15-year-old and school's over and you're just fucking killing people for giggles. Like, you had to have a reason. And it really made it so interesting. Like, you were very aware of other people, you were listening for noises, you were trying not to have torches or smoke at night, and we were just running around and engaging people and trying to trade. We were leaving notes for people, or we would cautiously meet someone, maybe going down to the water pump trying to look for food, and they'd be coughing and we'd be like yelling at a distance to not get sick, and just go into these little kind of role play scenarios. There was once where we were trying to get into the city and we were lost, and we're inside this like train depot, and we have the doors closed and we're rifling through our bags, we're trying to look for things, and then there's all this pounding of feet, and then the doors slam open, these guys rush in like fatigue, screaming and brandishing guns, and we're just like, the fuck? And they're like, what are you doing here? What are you doing? Are you spying? What are you doing? Oh my god, why are you encroaching on our territory? What do you got? You got any guns? What are you gonna do? Why are you here? Who are you here to meet? And we were just like, oh god, hello. We are not touching anything or making any sudden movements.
We are just lost.
Yeah,
I put on my best, oh, I am a lost little girl voice, and we managed to get out of that without getting shot in the face. But yeah, it's like, how often are you gonna run into a scenario like that or a situation like that? Like, I feel like most other servers that we may have been on, and any other sort of type of game, they would have just kicked open the doors and shot us, but here we had like an actual conversation, we had an experience. They were sort of almost like interrogating us or trying to get a feel for why we were there, if we were there to cause trouble, if we were there to steal stuff from their territory, and stuff like that. And it was an interesting interaction, and you don't get interactions like that in a lot of other experiences, a lot of other games.
No, and it provided a whole like increased segment of gameplay. There was tension. We were looking around, we were trying to stand next to each other. They were telling us to keep our hands out, to not touch anything on our backs. They were checking our weapons. and it was just a bunch of guys with guns, and it was but it made it that much realer. It made it like if it was the reality and we were in this deserted zombie filled wasteland and we were trying to scrounge for food and that happened, it wasn't just, oh, I'm kind of in, Counter-Strike, I'm gonna take out my knife and fucking run it, everybody. YOLO, Leroy Jenkins, here I go. Like it actually just made it for really interesting, fun gameplay. And a lot of the interactions on that server were like that. It just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a fun thing. I thought it was a really interesting experience, and it made me realize that just that type of engagement in the survival genre, when it is going to be that type of multiplayer, is a really unique thing. And I understand why people want to experience the game with another person, like playing at the same time, playing in the same game. But, there's so much you can do. Like, you could each have a copy of that single player game, and yeah, you are playing single player, but you can also talk to them about it. You could even talk while you're playing. Like, why is this never brought up as an option? Like,
Right, that's true. You can play sort of side by side, start up game together and sort of, when you have an experience or when you come across something, be like, oh, I just found this cool thing, and then you talk about it, you share the things that you discover and everything. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an entirely different sort of scenario from being literally in the same game next to each other, but it is a way to still interact while playing a game that was not built for multiplayer.
yeah, I mean, I tell you and Becca all the time about some of the I was gonna say comments, but like demands that we get, like, from Infected about having multiplayer, and it's just like these are actual comments, and oftentimes you'll see things where they try to like phrase it as a money thing, like, oh, I would have gotten your game, but it's single player, and I have 17 friends, so now all 17 of them won't buy it either. So that's 17 times your cost. So just think about that at night when you don't have that money. And it's like, okay, well, thank you and your 17 friends for not buying the game, I guess.
Thanks for your input.
I mean, or they'll say like more of it's like did you realize that I have millions of friends, or if I buy it, then I can tell a friend and then they'll buy it and then they'll tell a friend and they'll buy it. And it'll just continue on into infinity.
You will make infinity dollars off of my purchase of this video game.
Yep, because it will go. It'll be like a chain entirely around the entire globe until it comes back to me, and someone will buy it for me, and thus the chain will be complete. But like, I hate when they start to get very like dickish. Like, there's this one comment. Disappointed to see no plans for multiplayer. Enjoyed it for what it is, but we'll probably never play it again. People celebrating it staying single player are just lonely. But
That's just it. If you enjoy single player games, you are just lonely.
I frequently do things that are meant for one person because I am a lonely person.
Oh, holy
Wait,
shit.
what?
You enjoy reading by yourself, you're just a lonely person.
I mean,
what an absurd ideology to have.
Yep. But and then they do, like, I like the ones, it's kind of similar, and we've seen this for over a decade with WoW. But like, how often do they change something or do something, and then you get the people who post and this is why I quit 3 years ago. Why are you here?
Why are you still? Yeah, I mean, I see that a lot in subreddits. Like, just people like, oh, I'm so glad I quit, 3 expansions ago. And it's like, why are you still on this subreddit? I'm confused.
But even beyond that, I hate when they also kind of like, I don't want to call it a self-own, but it's like, well, thank God I quit WoW yesterday after playing for 17 years and getting 16 expansions and paying for 42 character changes. And it's like, honey,
I showed them.
Yes. After you gave them that $1,000, you really kicked them in the dick by quitting today.
Oh man.
But like when they're like, I played this game for 72 hours and now I'm never going to play it again because you don't have multiplayer. And it's like, honey, you're not getting a refund. So, I mean,
That yeah, I mean, thanks for the hours you did play, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I hope you got your $14 worth for the 70 hours or whatever, but like, you not playing it again, like a game that you've already gone past the refund window. Okay, a pizza that you already paid for and ate and shit out. Telling them that you fucking hated it or it sucked or you're never coming back or whatever, like in terms of the game, especially, they already have your money.
Yeah.
It ain't going to change anything. I mean, you could tell them if you want to say something constructive, like, and I'm leaving because of this reason, which is something bad or a bug or whatever, but like leaving over something like this and making it into this giant hill you're going to die on, it's a really weird hill to die on.
Yeah.
I was trying to find this other one. Where is it? Oh, if anything has been proven since the pandemic is that people love to play games with friends.
I mean, yes. Um, I okay. We needed the pandemic to teach us this, I guess. You know,
Like,
before the pandemic, I hated playing games with my friends. So,
I mean, are we missing, is there a whole subset of games that were single player and then the pandemic hit and they were like, quick, add multiplayer right now. Hit the toggle. It is time for the toggle.
Oh boy.
Just, you can't win. Like,
No.
you honestly, I think the other one that I didn't get was someone who was like, my issue is that I don't like playing survival games. So single player, fine. It takes away so much from a survival game, it feels pointless to play.
Like that's fine. But then go play a different game. You know, like there are other games that, will fit the criteria of what you want, then this isn't it.
Well, there are tons of actually multiplayer survival games, and not only that, but I can't imagine that whatever Blizzard is coming out with is not going to be either multiplayer or server based.
I'm sure it's going to be multiplayer.
You know, have a cash shop and a subscription fee.
Yeah, but maybe, who knows?
All right. I think we've beaten multiplayer to death. Did you have anything to add? Flip that toggle.
Flip the toggle. No, I guess just, to sum up, I love multiplayer. I love co-op. I've always loved them. I think that survival games offer a very unique sort of background to make for really interesting multiplayer interactions, and I think that they're very fun to play with other people. I think they are, in some games, like ones that are very spooky. They are it almost feels like a necessity to have someone by your side to face them with. But I also understand that there are some survival games where the whole purpose is that it's you against the world and you're trying to survive on your own, and that's okay. There is an importance and a place for both single player and multiplayer survival games and games in general broadly, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I think there's a place for both types of games, single player and multiplayer, in the survival genre, and I think both are important. And be a little nicer to devs, guys. Sometimes they don't want multiplayer, and it's there's no toggle to add multiplayer.
Yeah, I think from the viewpoint and from people who have to deal with the flack and who have to run the forums or run the Discord and deal with all the bullshit, like, it's, if you don't want to have multiplayer in your game, totally great. And I think you should be transparent about it. And I think you should make sure that you're firm with your decision and just explain it. Like, genuinely, I really love the lead for Hinterland for The Long Dark because he is very unapologetic for things. He brings things out and breaks it down. And it's just like, This is how we do it. There will be no multiplayer. There is no jumping. This is how we are doing things. There's no maybe one day, or there's no vagueness, and he embraces fully any choice they make for that game. And I think that sometimes, possibly to not piss off a group who are vocal, or not potentially head off sales, or to maybe give yourself time to think about it or whatever, sometimes people can be a little too vague and be like, well, we're not planning it at the time, we're thinking about it, etc., etc. But, be less vague. Like,
Sure.
it's not a
Yeah.
priority. It's something that we would need additional funding. I don't want to do it. We're putting in the capability, we're putting in a body instead of just being a floating head. But I'm not sure if it'll ever go through. Just explain it as best you can, and be committed to your choice.
Sure, and don't feel pressured, by if this is not something you want in your game, don't feel pushed by people who make angry comments, or call you names, or tell you you're losing so much money.
No, ignore assholes. Fuck people. Like, genuinely, that is my motto on things. Like, if people are going to be jackasses, you don't have to be a jackass back, but you also don't have to give them weight. You don't have to let them impact your mood. You don't have to let them impact what you're doing for the game. Whether they want you to change to multiplayer, or change something, portion of the game that you're very passionate about and you want to include, or change the name, or change the story, or whatever. Like, yeah, early access is for input and getting community input and to shape it and stuff. But I really view these games the same way I do like a song, or a poem, or a book someone's writing, or a TV show, or a play. Like, you can take in input, and it's just that. It's input. It's an idea. It's a suggestion. Just because someone tells you something doesn't mean you have to do it. And just because they tell you something, they shouldn't expect it to be in there. It's
right.
It's always frustrating when people will suggest something for Infected, and then like a month later we'll have a patch, and they're like, oh, I see you didn't put in my suggestion. It's like, well, sad, but yeah. Welcome to life. Like, if every suggestion got put into the game, it would be completely fucking different from what it is now. And it would also be a huge mess.
That sounds like a fun social experiment.
Make
a game where
everything.
you put in every suggestion, take every angry rant into account, and see what you end up with. That'd be a fun experiment.
A giant fucking mess. I'd be like, in order to have a suggestion and to give weight to your suggestion, I would have to tie it to like a level of donation in order to pay for all the time and the whatever assets to make this happen.
Yeah.
It'd still be funny.
It would be.
All right, folks. That is it for us today. I'm going to wrap this up. As always, we want to thank our Patreon patrons, Mitzi, Foxxy, Statik, Rynbee, and Matt. Newcomer Matt. I want to thank you guys for supporting us and for hanging out while we babble about multiplayer COOP, and associated things, experiences, life experiences, Daisy life experiences.
Yes.
As always, link in the show notes to the website. And from the website, you can bounce to everything. Basically, social media links are in the top right. And if you scroll a bit down the website, there are giant boxes with pictures in them. And those are also links. And they will lead you to the curator page, to all sorts of crap. And you can just poke around. You can definitely come visit us in Discord. We like to talk to people. We like to talk at people. But we also like to talk to people.
Yes.
Even
yes,
you.
We do.
No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Especially you.
Especially you.
Yes. I have problems with words. I'm an English major. I'm very bad with words. It's very hard for me to do correct words. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, people. And we will have our next one totally on time.
Yes.
Exclamation point. All right. Peace out, guys.
Bye.